This is Karen. Karen, welcome to my world. As most people probably have noticed, we have a virus going around called coronavirus. And I wanted to talk just a little bit about what people can do. We all know about the washing hands and everything, but I want to talk about what I do because some of my approaches are a little bit different than other people's. First of all, I am a person who loves to read the news. I love to follow what they say and be in on what's happening in politics and everything around the world. These days, I find myself checking in so many times a day. And suddenly I noticed I started getting scared. I noticed a lump of fear in my stomach. And what I realized two things. One was I needed to cut down on checking news. First of all, they do not put up new vital information every hour. They do not. It's fine for me if I want to check in morning and evening. During the day, I need to stay away. I do want to know what's going on, but that was just too much. It was becoming compulsive, and all my thoughts and all my focus was on the news and how everyone was doing, which is kind of silly because if I look around my home, I'm comfortable, I'm fine. No one I know is sick. We do everything we can to be considerate, to stay away from people, do all the things we have to do so we don't contaminate anyone. But it's really very peaceful where I am. So my part of the world, my little corner of where I am, is peaceful and easy. And I just need to stay in that bubble because when I'm not passing it on to anyone. So I've rationed myself a news and will do only mornings and evenings. So that's one thing. One thing I do if I do get scared, and I do sometimes, I can see a lot of things about the virus. I can see patterns that it's changing. I can see amazing things that it's going to bring. But it might take a little while before we see those improvements. And my brain is a three-dimensional construction. My brain does not see the wonderful multi-dimensional implications of what good this will bring us. So I need to calm my brain sometimes. My heart knows what's going on, but my brain freaks out at times. And apart from the news break and rationing it, what I do is I feel my feet. I could do it literally. What I mostly do is just put my feet flat on the floor, both of them next to each other, no crossed legs. And just take a minute to focus on my feet. It's the most amazing tool against stress, worry, anxiety, everything. You don't need very long, you just need 1 minute. Just sit quietly, feet on the floor. You can wriggle your toes if it helps. If it seems too abstract to focus on your feet, you can just wriggle your toes. That helps pull the focus down. It's a great idea to do that several times a day. I used to do it when I was in the bathroom. That's how I started using it. I was sitting there anyway, so focus on my feet, get that working. But wherever, and the thing is, you just need even 30 seconds. So there's really no excuse to not do it, except if you want to stay in the more anxious state of mind that you're in. And some people don't feel ready to give that up, and that's fine too. But if you do feel concerned, worried, there's a lot of things happening economically as well, and you want a small break from that, and you want to be better balanced, you want to feel more calm, I absolutely recommend getting some grounding. A lot of people like to take a walk in nature, just walking, but 30 seconds, 4, 5, 6 times a day, whenever, just put feet flat on the floor and focus on them. Maybe, as I said, wriggle your toes. It's going to change a lot, I can promise you. The reason why it works is that when you put your focus on your feet, your brain has to stop the constant monologue that is always happening in there. Our brains are our main source of stress because it's always telling us things. We're always carrying on dialogues and monologues in our brain. But the brain can only do one thing at a time. So if you command it to focus on your feet, it cannot keep the running dialogue, and that can help a lot. One time when I was really, really scared of something and this didn't do it for me, what I did was to take very detailed notes in my head. I didn't write them down, I could have. Very detailed notes of every single physical sensation I had in my body from this fear that was completely stuck in my solar plexus. And the weird thing was that as I was taking all these mental notes of how I was feeling, suddenly I snapped out of it. So I guess that created the same kind of distance to the brain talking incessantly and focusing on that my focusing on my feet could have done. But these two methods worked for me. Just doing something else, finding some piece of joy, all that stuff. But we know all of that. So now I want to get to the multidimensional stuff, because this is pretty 3D. But when I heard about the virus and I was telling my kid about it, I was explaining about a vaccine and what's a vaccine, and you develop antibodies in your immune system against whatever disease. And it hit me that you don't actually need to get the vaccine to develop the antibodies. I'm going to say right now my disclaimer, this is my truth. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to feel you can do this. You can do and feel whatever you want. This is what works for me. And I'm just sharing it so that if anyone else out there feels that, hey, wait a minute, I could use that, it's up for grabs and you can apply it. It hit me that I could program my body to start producing the antibodies. Our bodies, our innate, our systems, our DNA is very much controlled by our minds and our 3D brains. So that means we can actually tell them sometimes where to go, these bodies of ours. We don't just have to wait until it comes from the outside. So I started producing, asked my body nicely, told it nicely to start producing antibodies. And the same for my kid. My kid is under 18, so I still am responsible. It is not something I can go around telling people's bodies to do without permission. It's possible to initiate it. If you're listening to this and you feel that, oh my goodness, I really want to do this, just allowing your body to start doing what you just heard about will initiate that process. Now, how do I know if this works? Well, the thing is, I can only know for sure if it doesn't work. Because if it doesn't work, and I do get infected and I have a bad flu, I know it didn't work. But that's the only thing I will know. I will not know if it worked. So we're in a belief system here, and you may not believe the same things as I do. What I do have as a kind of proof, at least for my ability to program my body to do things for me, is that in a lot of years ago, I was in India. That was in 2008, 2009. I was in India and I staying with a family the first time. Wonderful people. Fun story, I'll tell that another time. But they would rinse my apple under the faucet in the kitchen. You know, they tried to be careful not to have water around me and not to give me a stomach ache. But in reality, I was treated the same way as the rest of the family, and I did not get as much as one stomach ache. No bad stomach, no stomach infection, no stomach ache. And what I did was, before leaving, I had seen one of my friends always putting his hands over his food to clean it, cleanse it, clear it before he ate it. And I thought, that's a great idea. I'm not going to forget that. There's no way I am going to remember to put my hands over my plate and send energy every single time I eat something. That's not going to work. So I thought about it a bit, and I realized that everything I process, everything I eat, passes under my third eye, the chakra I have here. So what I did was ask my chakra to just sap everything that entered my mouth. And it has ever since. And I've been to India twice, no bad stomach. Never had a stomach issue since the day I did that. So for me, in my world, my truth, that's proof enough for me. As I said, I don't need other people to believe it, but it's out there if anyone else feels that it resonates with them. The other thing I did was that I was suddenly worried that even though the virus would not stick to me, maybe I could pass it on, and I wouldn't want to do that. I try to keep everything as clean as I can, but I figured that even if I didn't get infected, I could still pass on the virus if it was on my hands by accident. I touched somewhere, it's a virus. I touched somewhere else, there you go. So I did another programming of my system a couple of days after that, actually last week I think, and just asked my energy to sap anything that, any virus, whatever, that touched me. So apart from doing the washing hands, all those things, I really believe firmly that I will not be passing on anything. Doesn't mean I don't apply to all the basic rules, all the basic three-dimensional rules. I do, also because I want people to feel safe, as safe as they can. I want them to see me abiding by these rules, not flaunting some, oh, I don't need this because I'm all cool and metaphysical. Because again, I believe it works, I think it works, but the only proof I'm going to get is if it doesn't. So these are the things that I'm doing at the moment, and I just wanted to put it out there because maybe some of you can use it. And maybe some of you can use it in the future, seasonal flus, whatever. I haven't had a fever in, I don't know, I think about 10 years. There's several reasons for that, but this is absolutely one of them. So there you go. If you want to do it, go ahead and try. All you need to do basically is just decide that you want to initiate this, and it will go to work. Or shake your head and say she's a nutcase, and that's okay too, because I don't have to see the rolling eyes and the head shakes. And this is why I'm doing YouTube, because this is only my second YouTube video, and it's still daunting for me to say these things in any sort of way that other people would hear. But as I said in the first introduction video, maybe it's time.